Are you raising religious kids with differing beliefs? Join me as I dive into the challenge of raising kids with different religious beliefs and figure out the right approach to make it work. Did you know that nearly 30% of families in the US practice different religions? How do they navigate parenting? This isn't just a passing statistic, it represents millions of families who wake up each day wondering how to spiritually nurture their children in a home that doesn't have just one religious voice. It's a profound issue that's increasingly becoming the norm in our diverse world. Imagine a child waking up on Sunday morning, hearing the church bells from their father's faith tradition, while also preparing for a Friday evening Shabbat dinner with their mother. Or consider a child who celebrates both Diwali and Christmas, both Ramadan and Easter. These experiences, while rich and deeply educational, can also be confusing, especially if not handled with deliberate care. Parents in such homes are not only trying to pass down beliefs, they're often trying to reconcile them. This dynamic raises serious and heartfelt questions. Which religion will the children identify with? Do you allow them to choose? Should one parent's belief system take the lead, or should there be a fusion? What if the extended family, like grandparents, are strongly opposed to any compromise? And what about worship practices? Do we pray together, separately, or alternate? These questions don't just stay theoretical. They hit home in moments like school religious presentations, holiday observances, family funerals, and rites of passage. A child being pulled in multiple spiritual directions may feel conflicted or even pressured to choose one parent over the other, not just in faith, but in love. This can create subtle emotional burdens that last well into adulthood. The truth is, while love brought the parents together, without a clear plan and mutual respect, differing beliefs can tear at the spiritual fabric of the home. Yet, it's important not to view this diversity of belief as a curse. It can be a profound blessing. Children who are raised in multi-faith homes often develop a strong sense of tolerance, empathy, and critical thinking. But these positive outcomes are only possible when parents are intentional. Left unaddressed, religious differences can sow seeds of confusion and rebellion. That's why it's important for parents to address the issue not as a confrontation, but as a conversation. Not from a place of fear, but from a position of wisdom. And as Psalm 127 verse 3 reminds us, children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. That heritage deserves careful nurturing, not just with love, but with a spiritual compass that honors both truth and peace. So whether you are in this situation yourself or know someone who is, stay with me as we walk through practical, God-centered strategies to make it work. Because at the end of the day, our goal isn't just to raise religious kids, it's to raise grounded, spiritually secure, and deeply loved human beings. Let's now take a deeper look into the heart of the challenge, raising children in a home where both parents follow different religious traditions or hold diverging belief systems. This isn't a simple or surface-level issue, it touches the very core of family identity, values, discipline, and spiritual guidance. In such homes, mom might be a devout Christian who attends weekly church services and teaches her children the Lord's Prayer, while dad may follow traditional African spiritual practices, Islam, Buddhism, or identify as agnostic. The real tension arises not just from the theological differences, but from the day-to-day parenting decisions that these differences affect. What happens when one parent wants the child baptized and the other opposes it? What about dietary laws, holiday observances, moral teachings, and even bedtime prayers? Children begin to notice early when one parent kneels to pray and the other remains seated. They ask questions. And if parents haven't already agreed on how to answer them, the result is confusion, and sometimes division. In many cases, the challenge is not just the child's spiritual development but the parents' ability to respect each other's faith while still feeling that their beliefs are being honored and passed on. One parent might feel like they are losing their child to the other parent's tradition. This can give birth to subtle forms of resentment, not just toward the partner but even toward the child, especially if the child starts to favor one belief system. The emotional toll of this spiritual dissonance can lead to disagreements that go beyond religion, spilling into parenting styles, school decisions, and family celebrations. Moreover, this problem is compounded when extended family becomes involved. A Christian grandmother might question why her grandson hasn't been dedicated at the altar. A Muslim uncle may express concern if his niece is eating pork. In worst-case scenarios, these tensions can lead to alienation, where one side of the family distances itself or criticizes the household dynamic entirely. This situation becomes even more difficult when parents aren't clear about their own faith boundaries. Some may feel confident in their beliefs but unsure of how to defend them without being combative. Others might compromise their convictions for the sake of peace, only to later feel spiritually disconnected or regretful. This spiritual instability, when perceived by children, creates even more confusion. Kids often take cues from their parents' tone, behavior, and attitude toward religion. If one parent dismisses or mocks the other's practices, even subtly, the child may internalize a sense of disrespect, or worse, feel forced to choose sides. And when children feel they must take sides, it can fracture their sense of security and identity. The home is meant to be their safest space, a place where they learn to walk with God and ask difficult questions without fear of judgment or punishment. But when that space becomes divided by spiritual disagreement, the very foundation of their faith can become shaky. That's why clarity, unity, and intentionality are so essential. Parents need to have real, open, and respectful conversations, not just once, but regularly, about how their differing beliefs will influence their parenting decisions. They must ask, what are our non-negotiables? Where can we find common ground? How can we ensure our children don't see one faith as superior to the other? It requires courage to face these questions, but it's necessary. As the Bible says in Amos 3 verse 3, "Can two walk together, except they be agreed?" Agreement doesn't always mean sameness, it means alignment in purpose. And when both parents share the purpose of raising spiritually grounded, emotionally secure children, even their religious differences can become tools for growth rather than obstacles. These conversations, though challenging, set the stage for raising children who not only understand their parents' differences but also learn to navigate a diverse world with wisdom and grace. Now, let's explore practical ways parents can navigate this complex terrain and make it work, not just for their own peace of mind, but for the spiritual and emotional well-being of their children. Raising kids in a multi-faith or religiously blended household doesn't have to mean confusion or conflict. In fact, it can become a unique opportunity to raise children who are empathetic, spiritually intelligent, and equipped to engage respectfully in a diverse world. But the key lies in intentionality. One of the first and most powerful strategies is to develop a foundation of mutual respect. Both parents must first respect each other's beliefs before they can expect their children to. That means not just tolerating the other's faith, but actively showing support, understanding, and even participating where appropriate. When a child sees their mother lighting a menorah in support of her husband's Jewish roots or their father joining the family in prayer during Christian devotions, even if he practices differently, that child witnesses harmony in action. And that example will speak louder than any sermon. Another important strategy is to create a unified parenting plan around spiritual practices. Parents should come together early, preferably before the child is old enough to start asking questions, to decide how they will approach holidays, worship routines, faith-based education, and moral teachings. For example, will the child attend church, mosque, or both? Will you celebrate both sets of holidays or alternate years? Will the child be dedicated, baptized, or have a naming ceremony? These questions may seem overwhelming at first, but writing them down, discussing them, and agreeing on a shared approach can help prevent misunderstandings in the future. And these decisions should be revisited over time as the child grows, matures, and starts to ask their own questions. Parents should also agree on how they will respond to those questions. A unified message, rather than conflicting answers, will help the child feel secure and spiritually anchored. Additionally, instead of viewing differing beliefs as a barrier, use them as an educational tool. Introduce children to both traditions through books, stories, music, food, and even language. Teach them that faith is not something to be feared or hidden but explored with joy and reverence. Let them learn the Bible stories alongside the Quranic teachings, or the principles of Buddhism next to the 10 Commandments, depending on the faiths involved. This approach doesn't dilute the power of either faith, it enhances the child's understanding and broadens their spiritual worldview. As they grow, they will appreciate not only their own tradition but also the beauty in others. Proverbs 4 verse 7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding." Understanding is what dissolves prejudice. And children raised in homes where both faiths are taught with honor are more likely to become bridge builders in a divided world. Another critical component of this strategy is emphasizing shared values. While religious beliefs may differ, most major faiths uphold similar moral and ethical teachings: love, honesty, compassion, service, and humility. Focus on these commonalities as a core part of your child's upbringing. When both parents affirm these values consistently, children grow up with a strong moral compass, even if the theological frameworks differ. This also prevents the child from seeing faith as a competition. Instead of, which belief is right, they begin to ask, how can I live a life that pleases God and respects others? That kind of question comes from a heart formed in a loving, unified, and respectful home environment. Finally, commit to open, ongoing conversations. Faith is not a one-time lesson, it's a lifelong journey. Create safe spaces where your children can ask questions without fear, confusion, or ridicule. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but we can explore that together. Let them know it's okay to wrestle with their identity. And always return to this unshakable truth: they are deeply loved. That love, modeled through respect and reinforced with consistency, will be their spiritual anchor even as they grow and choose their own paths. So, whether you're blending Christianity and Islam, traditional religion with modern spirituality, or two variations of the same faith, let me now take you into the heart of the matter with a real and inspiring story, a powerful case study that demonstrates just how transformative it can be when a family chooses to embrace differing religious beliefs with unity, purpose, and grace. This story centers around a couple in Atlanta: John, a devout Catholic man, and Amina, a practicing Muslim woman. When they fell in love and got married, they knew their faiths were very different, but they also believed that love was a greater bridge than doctrine. From the beginning, they faced criticism from both their religious communities. Friends and family questioned how they would raise their children, how holidays would be celebrated, and whether their home would be spiritually divided. But instead of letting fear or division take the lead, they made a bold decision: to build a home where both faiths would not only be respected but celebrated. When their daughter Layla was born, they faced their first major parenting decision: what kind of religious rituals would mark her arrival into the world? Instead of arguing or choosing one tradition over the other, they combined both. Layla was dedicated in the church, and a week later, they held a traditional akikah ceremony, offering prayers and sharing food with their Muslim friends and family. This symbolic act of inclusion sent a powerful message, not just to their child but to their community, that honoring both faiths was not only possible but deeply meaningful. As Layla grew older, her parents made intentional decisions to educate her in both religious traditions. Every night, she would hear a Bible story from her father and a story from the Quran from her mother. She learned to say the Lord's Prayer and also memorized Surah Al-Fatiha. Instead of feeling torn between two worlds, she felt embraced by both. But it wasn't always easy. As Layla entered her preteen years, questions began to arise. Which one am I supposed to follow? She asked one night. That's when her parents made perhaps the most critical parenting choice of all. They sat her down and told her, "You are loved by God, and your job is to walk closely with Him. We are showing you two paths that lead to Him, and as you grow, you'll find your own way, with respect for both." This moment marked a turning point. Layla didn't feel pressured to choose one over the other. Instead, she felt trusted, empowered, and guided. That open, grace-filled conversation kept her anchored, and it has continued to guide her through her teenage years. Today, Layla is 19 years old, studying religious studies and peace-building in university. She travels to speak at interfaith conferences, telling her story and advocating for children raised in multi-faith homes. Her message is simple but profound: you don't have to be confused by your parents' differing beliefs, you can be blessed by them. She shares how her upbringing taught her not just religious tolerance, but deep compassion for others who think, live, and worship differently. She recalls how her parents never fought over faith but used their differences to teach her about unity, humility, and love. And every time she returns home for the holidays, their house is still filled with both Advent candles and crescent moons, Christian hymns and Arabic prayers. This case is not just a beautiful exception, it's a roadmap. It shows us that with mutual respect, honest communication, and intentional parenting, families can raise children who are spiritually grounded even amid religious diversity. It demonstrates that unity is possible when love leads and when faith is modeled as a journey rather than a battle. It reminds us that children don't need perfect answers, they need authentic examples. Psalm 85 verse 10 says, "Mercy and truth are met together, righteousness and peace have kissed each other." In the case of John and Amina, we see mercy and truth holding hands, not pulling apart. And that's what makes the difference. In conclusion, raising children in a home where differing religious beliefs exist doesn't have to be a source of confusion, division, or spiritual instability. It can become one of the most powerful and transformative opportunities for growth, maturity, and deepened faith. The key lies in how we, as parents, choose to approach the situation. Do we approach it from a place of fear, fighting to preserve our individual beliefs at all costs? Or do we approach it with love and wisdom, intentionally working together to create an environment where our children are taught not only faith, but respect, grace, and understanding? This journey isn't about watering down our convictions, it's about building a family legacy that prioritizes peace, compassion, and the long-term spiritual health of our children. As we've seen through the challenges and the case study of John and Amina, it is possible to raise children who are not confused by differences, but rather strengthened by the beauty and depth of two traditions. They grow up not as victims of religious tension, but as witnesses of intentional parenting and sacred unity. Let's quickly revisit some of the key strategies that can help parents thrive in this situation. First, mutual respect is non-negotiable. If the parents don't respect each other's faith, the children will learn disrespect as a default posture. Second, it's important to develop a family plan, a faith-focused roadmap that outlines how holidays will be celebrated, how worship will be handled, and what moral teachings will be emphasized. These conversations can be tough, but they prevent future confusion and create a safe structure for children to grow within. Third, we must see our faith differences not as liabilities, but as opportunities to educate, broaden perspectives, and plant seeds of wisdom. When both traditions are taught with honor and love, the child is not split in two, they are made whole through understanding. And lastly, the cornerstone of this entire process is open, ongoing communication. Your child will go through seasons of spiritual curiosity, questioning, and even doubt. They need to know that their home is a safe place to ask, to learn, to wrestle, and most of all, to be loved. The goal is not to raise religious robots, but spiritually secure, thoughtful, and compassionate individuals who know they are rooted in love. As Proverbs 3 verse 5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." This verse becomes especially relevant in multi-faith households. It reminds us that, even when we don't have all the answers or when our beliefs don't align perfectly, trusting God and submitting our parenting efforts to him will guide our children's paths. Parents who model humility, prayer, and unity, even through differences, show their children what real faith looks like. They show that the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control, can flourish in any home where God's presence is welcomed, no matter the doctrinal divide. So I want to encourage every parent navigating this journey, you are not alone. Many others have walked this path and have raised remarkable children full of wisdom, compassion, and faith. Don't let fear rob your home of peace. Instead, embrace the beauty of your family's unique spiritual makeup and use it as a strength. Begin the conversation today. Ask your partner how both of your faiths can be represented with honor. Set the tone in your home by choosing love over conflict and clarity over confusion. The impact will be generational. And remember, your children are watching. Let them see how love can bridge differences, how faith can be lived out authentically, and how peace can be nurtured even in spiritual diversity. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Are you raising children in a multi-faith home? Have you navigated similar challenges, or are you just beginning this journey? Please share your experience in the comments below, it could encourage someone else. And don't forget to check out my other videos on parenting, family dynamics, and faith-based strategies for building strong, spiritually resilient homes. Together, we can learn, grow, and build families that reflect the heart of God, full of love, truth, and grace.